All right. Did everyone get a one that they wanted? Yeah, you guys, all right, cool? All right. Way to go. Thanks a lot. All your fault. It's all good. No, I appreciate every single one of you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. I hope that you guys are having a good time here at the con. Yeah? It's nice to be back doing conventions, right? Yeah! All right. Well, this is just JYB Q&A, so you can ask me whatever I have done or any kind of questions regarding anime or Power Rangers or, I don't know if you know my band or any of that, whatever. I even got something else I wanted to talk about as well, a film that I put together that some of you might have seen, probably one of you. Who's seen it? Who's seen Arc Exodus? All right, yeah, okay. So at least I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about that. But I can start with some questions, do a couple questions, and then I'll start chatting. Yes?
How did you go from Power Rangers to anime?
That's a good question. Power Rangers to anime. Well, let's see. That could be a long story, but let's shorten it. So on Power Rangers, we had a Japanese stunt team. And that Japanese stunt team was Alpha Stunts, Koichi Sakamoto. He does a lot of the Kamen Rider stuff in Japan now. Super awesome fella, great stuff. They wanted to do an action film, and so they hired me to play the lead in this action film because I could do my own stunts. And their camera was Japanese, but the sound equipment wasn't. And at least my understanding was because of that, the sound didn't work or it didn't line up, and so I had to go in and dub myself over during this film. And so once it was all edited, I went in and I started to dub myself throughout this film. And as I was dubbing, the producer walked by, heard my voice, and he said, "Hey, you got a good hero voice." And then eventually, after the end of the session, he asked me to come audition for a show called Trigun. Yeah, so I went out, I auditioned for Trigun, and then that basically opened the doors. And then they were like, "Hey, we heard you in Trigun, we want you to audition for Akira, or we heard you in this, we want you to audition for whatever, Kiba, Wolf's Rain." So it became a thing, and eventually, and luckily for me, it was at a time where it was a rough time for me actually, because it was like, after Power Rangers, like you think Power Rangers like, oh man, you guys must have had a great time, it was awesome. And it was, I had a good time. But it was like after Power Rangers, like now it's cool. Like now people are like, Power Rangers is cool, it's retro. But like after Power Rangers, for me at least working on the show, nobody wanted to talk about it. It was not cool to talk about it. And if I went into a show and they saw that I was from Power Rangers, they would be like, okay, not interested. So it was really hard for me. Not only because of that, but because I'm half Asian, So I was always sent out on roles that were like a full-on, like it would say Chinese guy, right? And so I'd go in there and I wouldn't get it because I'm half Asian, or I was confusing. Like it would confuse them, right? Like they don't know what I am. And so if I went in, there was never really like a mixed anything for me to be able to fit into. So luckily for me, I got into voiceover, and it didn't matter what I looked like. Obviously that has changed now, and there's quite a bit more projects going on. You can shoot your own movies now, which I've been doing. But anyways, it was a tough time for me. So thankfully, I got into voiceover, and earlier on in the anime, when it was starting to become a thing here in the U.S. So for me, I got to kind of get in there early and to just kind of really just continue, which was great for me. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. Yes?
Out of all the times you've been in Power Rangers, what would you say was your best episode on there?
On Power Rangers?
Or, best moment.
Oh, man, best moment. Okay, best moment for me. You have to think about it like this. So ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to do like action stuff. I wanted to be like an action hero. I wanted to do martial arts on film. That was like my dream. I love Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan, and that's the stuff I wanted to do. And so I dreamed about it forever. And I was training all the time, martial arts. And my friends would come over and I'd be training, and hey, Johnny, come out and play. He's training. So that's basically what I did. I mean, it was a big dream for me. And I remember there was, well, I won't go into that story, but I'll just say that it was always a dream of mine, right? And so, long story short, I booked the role, right? And then I'm there in California. So I lived in Texas. I'm in California. I guess I should backtrack a little bit. So there was a cattle call in Dallas. Well, they had them all over nationwide, but there was a big one in Dallas, and there was a few thousand people. And I saw it when my martial arts instructor saw it in the newspaper, and he's like, "You should go give it a shot," because he knew I wanted to do that stuff. And I was like, "Okay, but what is it for?" And he's like, "Well, it's Power Rangers." And he's like, "Was it stunt people?" Or he's like, "I have no idea, but this is your shot." So I was like, "Okay, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to try this, And so I was super nervous. I'm a very shy guy. I'm super insecure. But this is what I've always wanted to do. And so I had to go try to do it. So I tried to convince some of my friends to come with me so that I wouldn't be as scared, And all of my friends, except for one, but all of them were like, "Dude, what are you doing? You're wasting your time." Guys like us from wherever, Texas, we don't get to go be on the TV screen. You need to think about, what you're really going to do. And they weren't trying to hurt my feelings. They were just trying to be practical, But one of my friends was like, "Whatever, man, I'll go with you." And so that gave me enough courage to be like, "All right, well, I'm going to go. I'm going to do this." Long story short, I booked that, right? And so my friend didn't. And we made fun of him later. But so when I was in California, I had to audition again. I eventually got the role, and it was nonstop work. We were working constantly, and it was long hours, straight through. It felt like a couple weeks, but it was maybe just really 1 week. But it was like all day, wardrobe fittings and shooting, and then ADR, and everything for me was new. So I didn't get a chance it didn't sink in. But there's a moment where we were out at this park, and it was early in the morning, and they were setting up lights and the cameras elsewhere, and I was trying to figure out how to do I didn't rollerblade, so I had to figure out how to rollerblade. And so I'm like in this park trying to figure out how to rollerblade, and then, the sun's starting to come up, dew on the grass, and I stop, and I'm like, holy cow, I'm doing it. I'm doing exactly what I wanted to do, what I had hoped to be doing, and it was that dream that, I thought was impossible, that everybody was telling me was impossible and not to waste my time trying to do. I was here doing it, So I was kind of like, for me, it was like, I've accomplished something. It felt like winning the lotto, It was like, wow, man, I really, really made it here. So anyways, that's a long way of me that's a long way to get to. Like, that for me was a really important moment. That kind of showed me that no matter what it is, if there's something that you want to accomplish or you have a dream, it's possible. It is definitely possible. It's just a matter of how much drive or how lucky you can get, but it's like, you just kind of have to go for it. That's a long story, and I'm sorry to tell you in such a long way, but I want to tell you another story. A few years ago, I was at a convention, and like I'd mentioned, where my instructor saw it in the paper, and I kind of went out for this audition. But I remember having these doubts in my head of like, you're never going to make it. And not only from my friends, but in my head, just saying, you're not going to make it. You can't do this. Why are you even wasting your time? But I still was like, I have to try. And I went and did, and of course, I ended up getting it. But there's a guy at this convention that was signing autographs, and I told the same story, and he came over to me. He was like, I saw that same newspaper ad from where I was, and I thought I had the same doubts, and I didn't go. And he regretted it for years. He's fine now, but he felt like, oh man, I missed that chance. So, all I want to say is, for you guys, if there's something inside your head, like you want to do something, you want to accomplish something, you are absolutely going to hear doubts. And it's not only going to be outside voices, people telling you that, but your own voice too. And you have to realize that, and you have to somehow go, no, wait a minute. This is what I actually want to do. Like some of you, it's like, I don't want to be a voice actor, right? So it's like, okay, no, wait a minute. It is possible. And then you start planning. Okay, well, what am I going to do? What's the first step? Because it is possible for any one of you to accomplish any one of your dreams. You can make it. You can do whatever you want, really. And hopefully it doesn't hurt anyone. Anyways, sorry, I get off my soapbox there. But let me tell you about this real quick, if I can, all right? And then I'll come back to you. Answer your questions. All right. Once I did that, you're like, oh. All right. So, in 2020, or actually 2019, do you guys remember back that far? All right. So 2020, January 2020, I had this goal of like, I want to shoot a film. So me and a few friends, we were like, we're going to shoot a film in 2020. And it was going to be an action film. So in 2019, we spent about 10 months just prepping this film. It was going to be an action film, and we started getting everything lined up. A lot of work went into it, script and all that stuff, casting and locations and props and wardrobe and whatever else goes into the details of that. And so I was paying some of it, somebody else was paying some of it. But then a week before we were actually going to start production, it all fell apart. You know, half the money from the other investor, they bailed and it was gone. And so this whole film that, you know, that I had my money stuck into, which I'll go back a little bit more. Like, I had this dream of like, okay, so maybe some of you guys know, have you guys heard of other projects that I've been a part of that were either Kickstarter or GoFund or whatever, they're Indiegogos, that they were trying to start and make happen and they fell through or whatever. Maybe you don't know, but there have been a few of those, you know, some Kickstarters and things like that. There was another game at Auditioning that it just fell through. Or they raised money and then the guy disappeared. So I was upset about the few things like that I had been a part of, that it was not in my control, it was somebody else's thing. And so I just wanted to create a movie that I would just pay my own money and just give it to you for free. So that was the goal, was to shoot this action film, but it all fell apart a week before production. And so I scrambled, I changed the story, I came up with a new story, and Kyle Higgins, I don't know if you guys know Boom Comics and Power Rangers or those, he actually helped me come in and write this new story. So we ended up changing it and doing a sci-fi story, and we shot this thing using the same locations and whatnot, and we did a sci-fi story, a completely different story. But anyways, it was gonna be like my gift to you guys. It's just a free thing that you can go check out. It's on YouTube right now. You can take a flyer if you want. It's called Arc Exodus. It's spelled a little funky, so it might be hard to find. So take a little postcard. But really, it's just something I wanted to give back. And if you watch it, first watch it. Hopefully you like it. Leave us a comment and a like. But then go back through and look for the Easter eggs in the background. There's a Black Ranger helmet back there somewhere. There's Ichigo was here written on the wall somewhere back there. There's a couple things hidden throughout there. Of course, this was all last minute, but you know, so I would love to be able to take another approach at something like this with more time and not have everything fall apart a week before. But anyways, please check this out. What was your question? Somebody over here, you had a question. Oh, I already knew the story since DMC4. Yeah, see, when I was and this was many years ago, when I worked on DMC4, we had a whole history lesson. You know, they sat us down, like I knew everything. I knew who, well, if you haven't played DMC5, I'm sorry to ruin it or spoil it. But yeah, it's like, I knew the whole story. I knew who my father was and all that, and I remember when we were going through the script, I was like, well, we don't really say it. We're just hinting at it, who his father is. And they were like, well, that's what we want, you know. And then it was like later after the game, DMC4 had come out, and some people put it together, but a lot of people didn't, you know. A lot of people didn't quite put the connection together until they released like a book. I think there's like some book that kind of actually spelled it out. But for me, for DMC5, it was like, oh, finally we can actually say it without totally like ruining it for people, you know, and you get to like play it and live that experience out, you know. So I was super excited about being able to play that and to be Nero finding out who his father was, and then, you know, having to confront him and Dante, you know, it was a good moment for me. And I hope we get to do more. I just hope it doesn't take, you know, another 10 years. I think it's going to take a while, because I'm sure they're going to go into of course, the animation that they're doing, which is going to be, I think it's going to be awesome. And then hopefully, you know, they'll sneak Nero in there too at some point. It'll be years, but we'll see. Nero will be back, hopefully. Be cast by somebody else. Somebody else be playing him. That's what they do, man. They replace that. Bleach comes back, and I don't know who's going to be playing him. You have a question? Yeah. Most emotional scene? That's a great question. There were a lot in Code Geass. Have you all seen Code Geass? Yeah, there were a lot of good moments in there. Just kind of all throughout. You should watch that. If you haven't watched it, there's a lot of good emotional scenes. Let me think. Persona 4 had some good stuff. Persona 4 had good stuff, yeah. Oh my gosh. Fragile Dreams. Who's played that? 2, 3 people? 4 people? That was sad. I was depressed being that character, but it was so much fun. It was so much fun just being a part of that world.
How about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
It wasn't too sad. It was bizarre. I mean, of course, I didn't get emotional. I didn't get emotional. You know, I was just reacting to everything that was happening. Whereas like Code Geass, there were quite a few emotional moments, you know. And even just the ending of season 2, you know. I mean, that hit me in the feels. I was feeling it. That's what made it easier for me to play the character too, though. It's like I was feeling it. And the thing was, as Kevin, the director, wouldn't tell me what was going to happen. You don't get the script ahead of time. So it's like I was experiencing it as I was watching it and doing the voice for it. So it was fresh for me. I was like, oh man, that's what's happening right now. Like, oh, what? But there was a lot of that. Did somebody else shout something else at me? K Project? Yeah. Yeah. That's fun. I want more of that one. Fushimi. Which one? Itsuki? Yeah, Itsuki. Well, not too emotional. Definitely playful, yeah. He was fun too. Except for the Endless 8. That was a weird one. The Endless 8, do you remember that? It was like the same thing over and over again. I kind of was like, hey, is it cool if one episode we do like accents? And like, can I play one of the females in one of the episodes? And at first they were like, hey, that's a great idea. You know, it's like alternate universes. Maybe this will work, you know? Yeah, maybe it's different this one, you know? But then it went across somebody's table and like, no. Okay, that's fine. Boring. Yes?
Did you ever, were you ever get to read the source material for whatever you were auditioning for?
You know, they give you a little breakdown when you're auditioning. There's usually a breakdown. So they might even have a picture of the character. Very rarely, but occasionally they will send like a clip if it was like an anime, you know, or if it was some other, you know, a foreign language or something. So usually there's something there, but not always.
Sometimes if there's a manga or something, would you read that, or would they like cut that off?
It depends, you know. I think they just leave it up to most people. Like they'll give you a small breakdown just to see you. And half the time, I don't even know what I'm auditioning for, you know. And sometimes they don't give you the title, you know, so you don't even really know. And so for me, a lot of times, you know, if they do that, then I'm like, wait, what is the name of this character? Who is he talking to? And I try to like research it and find out that way. And then I personally go through and I try to find out a bit more. Just because I want to know a little more where I'm coming from, who I'm supposed to be. Which can work well sometimes, but maybe not other times. Black Clover, I remember I think they just cast me for the role of Zora in Black Clover, right? And then I was like, and I wasn't familiar with it, so I had to do a ton of like, I need to go find out what this is about. But I couldn't find any like clips or anything. There's like AMVs all over the place, but I couldn't hear the character. but I saw an image of him, and I was like, well, that guy looks cool. And then so I just started to develop like a natural way of speaking, like the way I saw a voice coming out of him, you know. I'm like, all right, this is the way I feel like it would be. But the problem with that is it's almost like trying to develop, like make an accent for a character, and then you go in and they're like, oh, guess what? They don't have an accent. Then it's hard to like get out of it. And so I had a similar situation with that because I got stuck in the phrasing and the way I was playing that character in my head when I was like, just naturally just, this is where I think you'd sound, you know, feel good, you know, for me. But when I went in and I started working on it, Chris, who was directing, was like, nah. He was like, not so much that. A hint of that is okay. And so then I had to find the balance where we can both kind of agree with, like, you know, because there's some stuff I really wanted to do and some stuff he wanted to hear. And eventually we just found a place where it's like, that's the pocket. That's where it is. Keep him there, you know. But that's a fun one. Have you guys seen Black Clover yet? Yeah. That's a pretty fun one. Giyu. I can't wait to get more Giyu. How many of you have seen Demon Slayer? Quite a few of you, okay. How many of you are all, like, you've read the manga, so you already know what's going to happen? All right. You've all read through then, you know? All right. Giyu's going to get some cool stuff later, I think. At least to do some cool stuff. Yeah. No, just one. The second one. The second one, not the first one. I'm just kidding. You can ask for it.
First, in the Summer game, you were adopting, and you were also now coming it's not. When you went to the anime, how did you? How did you develop adopting sounding different from how you handled it?
That's a good question.
There's a pitch balance between the two of them.
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually looking that up, or I stumbled upon it somewhere. And there were some people thought that I forgot how to do the voice, but it wasn't me forgetting to do the voice. Basically, let me just tell you with that one, Persona 4. When I went into voice, I only knew I was voicing Adachi. I did not know that I was going to voice Narukami. So when I went in, I wasn't thinking about reserve a certain, you know, space for another character. I was just like, this is Adachi, and I'm going to play him how I'll play him here until later on, if you guys haven't gotten to play it, you know, where he changes, and then I take him to that place, right? So I was like all over the place, like it's just like wide open, right? Then towards the end of that session, they're like, all right, so we got a few minutes left. We're going to go ahead and go through the protagonist. And then I started to panic because I was like, oh, wait, I'm doing another character? And they're like, yeah, but it's just, you know, it's call-outs and shouting. And I was like, okay, so I'll gruff him up a little bit, and I'll just do that, and it was fine. But then, of course, more games came out, and he talked more, and then, of course, the animation came out. So when the animation came out, I knew that it couldn't just be Johnny Young Bosch being the same voice on both these characters. So I had to separate them a little more than I did in the game, you know, because now they're actually talking to each other. So I took where I started and I adjusted their pitch ranges a little bit and their inflections and how they talk. And I've done that for a couple of games, you know. People actually, I think it's Hajime also, you know, because I did Rantaro as well. So I had to do that. When that game came out, I was like, oh, I've got to adjust the voice on this one too, because they're both kind of in it. Not really, but you know, you can hear. And so I'm like, all right, so I'll separate them a little. So yeah, that I did that. So that I can see where people can. That's why I did the pitch adjustments for those.
The second question is, what would you and Narukami do for a Klondike bar?
Probably not much. I don't know. Do you like Klondike bars? I'm not a big mint guy. You guys like mint? Oh, you do? Wow. All right. So like ice cream, you get mint flavor, yeah? Yeah. I mean, I could do it. If it's like, I guess I'll have that one. Like, I'm not going to turn down ice cream. Yes?
Why do your characters never get along with Crispin Bruin's character?
Why do my characters not get up? That's funny, huh? Well, wait, who else is there? There's Isaiah and Shizuo.
Jeremiah and Luke initially.
Oh, yeah, initially.
And Holland and Erica Seven. Neil Portia and Trey Forsyth and Romero. Quite a few times.
I guess so. I guess you're right. Because we're enemies! That's why. No, he's a great guy. And very smart. I don't know why that happened. It's a total fluke. I mean, he auditioned for roles and I did, and we just landed in those spots. It's so weird. It's the same with like Yuri. Occasionally when we like, especially earlier on with certain anime, it's like, wow, Yuri's in this one too, you know? and Stephanie Shea is like a few other people, you know? We just kind of, and it is a small niche, you know, but it just ended up working out that way. I don't know why, but that's a funny observation for sure. Maybe you guys start spreading the rumor that we're enemies. I do. Holy cow, you remember it? Oh, really? Count of Monte Cristo. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
3 of you. Wow. It's really pretty though. Like the animation, or at least I liked it. Some people they didn't like it, but I liked it. It was really cool looking. Yeah, I liked it. Thanks for bringing it. Was my scene that embarrassed you, and you couldn't keep watching? I'm trying to remember what was in there. It was so. I don't know. Is there a baby in the corner? There's a baby over there? Oh, a little baby. All right. Baby coos. Yes.
I have something like a silly question. I know it's been a while since you've done Power Rangers, but can you do like any of the sequence dances that they had you do, like like when they had you call the Thunder Sword? Can you do any of that?
Can we call on the Thunder Zord?
Yeah.
You mean in the suits?
Yeah. Like can you do any of the poses that you just have?
I know my morphs, but gosh, let me think. And that was one of them. One of them. That's one. Gosh, I don't remember. It's funny. It's like, I wonder if cheerleaders forget their cheers. You did? You remember your cheers?
I do.
Right on. Oh, okay. Good for you. I remember a few things, like the ninja thing. And the first morph was just this. It was just, it's morphin' time. And then it became, it's morphin' time. That, and then it became shift into turbo. Oh, wait, that's... That one's harder. Let me think. Shift into turbo. That one was kind of like this, wasn't it? Oh, wait, no, Zio was. Wasn't it this too, though?
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3.
Zio was the one where it looked like we flipped people off. Gosh. Don't film it, I don't remember it. You guys are filming me like completely forgetting my morph. Like all the Power Ranger fans are like, oh, no!
And I remember you being funny because it was some of the original Rangers when it was just that. At the time, you did the whole thing.
Yeah.
And the morphing call for Triceratops, Mastodon, Tyrannosaurus. Every time you just went, yeah!
Well, that's the reason I did that was because Walter was there too. So, like, I had the same call as him. So he already said Mastodon. What was I gonna say? at St. Macedon again, so all I could say was, yeah. I felt like that was good enough to call upon my Zord. It was almost like me saying, yeah, what he said. All right, yeah, let's do a couple more questions. You know, I haven't told any of my random stories. Maybe I should get into those. I haven't told the quarter story in a long time. I don't even know if I remember. Have you guys heard the quarter story? Who's heard the quarter story? Oh, man. Would you want to hear it again? Let me see if I can remember it. I've basically forgotten everything before COVID. Let me think. All right, the quarter story. Here we go. All right, it's a true story, by the way. All right, so back in the days of Bleach, actually, when I was working on Bleach, you know, we had to go into the studio. Now I have my own studio I can work out of, but I would drive to go to the studio. So to get to the studios, I would take the freeways, and then, you know, obviously when I come home, freeway home, I take an off-ramp, and there's a light there. And every time I would exit this off-ramp, you know, there's the light there, and there's always like a homeless person on the corner before I make a left to go on under the overpass and go home. In my car, like I've given money to homeless people plenty of times, but in my car at that time I hadn't, you know, I'd never really felt comfortable giving somebody money in my car because I was strapped in. You know, it's just a weird thing. I get it. Okay, I get it. It's strange, but I just felt like they could, I don't know, attack me. And I'm like strapped in my car. So I never did. I just kind of like ignore them, and then I would just go along my way. So this one day, I exit the off-ramp, and there are like 4 or 5 cars in front of me, and the light down there is red. So it's a good distance. It's at least from here to the end of the room. And so behind me pulls up this monster truck, and it's like towering over me, and the person, and they're revving their engine. It's a red light, so all these cars in front of me and me, like this car behind me is just, you know, just revving, and you could feel the vibration and the loudness, and it felt like monster madness. You know, as soon as it goes bing, turns green, and like, he just runs us over. I had that vision in my head, like I was a little panicked, okay? So I'm like, man, as soon as this turns green, we gotta get moving. So anyways, I have this Ziploc bag full of carrots that I'm scarfing down, these carrots left over from lunch. And I look over, expecting to see like a homeless guy on the corner again, but I saw a homeless woman on the corner. And for whatever reason, my heart just went out to her. I was like, man, that could be my mom. What if that was your mom? Like I felt that, you know, like voice saying, what if that was your mom? You know, and then so I was like, I should do something. Maybe I should do something. This is the time to do something. And so I look at my cup holders, and they're full of quarters. In LA, I'm not sure if it's like this out in the downtown areas, but like you have to pay for parking everywhere in LA. So I had cup holders full of quarters. And I just finished all these carrots, so I had an empty Ziploc bag. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to scoop up all these quarters, put it in the Ziploc bag, and give it to her. So I do that. I scoop them all up, and I put it in the Ziploc bag, and I'm like, oh, it's just like 3 pounds of quarters. I'm like, that's awesome. I don't know how much money's in here, but she's going to be able to go off. Maybe this is going to change her life. I don't know. So I roll down the window. And again, I've never done this before. So I roll down the window. Again, 4 or 5 cars, good distance. She's like at the back of the room. I put my hand out the window with this bag of quarters, and I look at her. And she has a sign. I'll stand up for this. She has a sign. And she's like this. She puts her sign down, and she goes... And this, I get this look of confusion. I'm like, wait, am I supposed to get out? How does this work? And I'm like, no, I don't know. And I'm like, I can't throw that far. I'm like trying to signal her to come over here. I can't throw this far left-handed. I don't know what to do. All right? And so again, this monster truck behind us still revving his engine the whole time. So I still feel this anxiety over me. I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do here. What? And then the light turns green. And these cars in front of me, they just take off. So naturally, I just feel this anxiety, and I just start going, right? And so I'm driving, my hand out the window like this. I'm like, wait a minute. And I look down, I'm going 20 miles an hour with a 3-pound bag of quarters in my hand. I'm like, how is this exchange going to happen? You know, this monster truck is right on my tail. If I stop, it's going to really run me over. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then I get this moment of clarity, this epiphany. I'm like, Jody, you're a martial artist. Focus. It's about the timing. I'm also Asian, so I did the math. 20 miles an hour, 3-pound bag of quarters. All I have to do is go and watch it gracefully land into her hand. So I'm waiting 20 miles an hour for the right moment. 3-pound bag of quarters. I time it out, do the math, now. And I release. And if you've ever been in an accident, time slows down. And I don't really know what happened, but it felt like time slowed down. It felt like God was upstairs like, oh! Oh! Yeah. Jesus, Moses, bring some nachos and popcorn. We're gonna watch this in slow motion. Yeah, I'm recording it. We'll play it back when he's dead. So there I am, 3-pound bag of quarters, 20 miles an hour. I release, and I watch as this 3-pound bag of quarters flies through the air. Slow motion. 20 miles an hour. 3-pound bag of quarters. Smacks her in the face. The bag rips open. Quarters fall, glistening in the sunlight. She goes down. All I could do was this. No! I'm going so fast that I can't slow down. So I actually screech around the corner like it was a drive-by quartering from any other perspective. She goes down, quarters everywhere. There's nowhere where I can stop or turn around to see if she's okay. So I just kept driving. Feeling unclean and dirty. So I kept going. True story. So, as I mentioned before, there was always like a homeless guy on the corner. This first time I ever saw a homeless woman on that corner. Since that day, no homeless people on that corner. Never again after that day. Yeah, and I don't know, I always have this in my head, like, what happened? You know, I didn't see, there's not like a white cross there anymore. I don't know. I was like, should I put something down there? A bag of quarters? I don't know. True story. But I always imagine like there's like a, and this is probably inappropriate, but like a bridge somewhere and a barrel fire going and a guy warming himself up and another homeless guy walking up. Hey, where's Sally? Well, you didn't hear? She's dead. Some guy killed her with quarters. So anyways, there's a lesson to be learned, kids. Don't give people money while driving your car. Or slow down and stop. Or maybe get out. I don't know how you do it. You definitely don't do this. I still see her face. To this day, I can make it out. Like if I saw her face to face, I'd be like, that's her. So strange. I don't know why they're not there anymore. You think less of me now, don't you? I have had so many bad interactions with homeless people. Most times it's like you give them money, you walk away. You don't expect more things to happen because of it. I have another story I could tell, but I'll answer some questions first. Let's get back to normal. Yes, let's reset. Yes.
Are you familiar with all the bleach openings?
The bleach what? Openings? I mean, gosh. I'm sure if I heard them, I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember the first one. Like, that one I can kind of hear in my head. I don't remember all the words. You know, I don't know the words, but I have that stuck in my head. There's a few songs I do remember, but I don't. Well, I like the first one. Actually, I liked all of them. I enjoyed them all, you know. But sort of the first one definitely sticks in my head. It's like stuck there forever. It's like the Power Ranger theme. It's just stuck there forever. Did you just go? All right. Another question, yes? Yeah.
Me? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Have
Sure.
you seen Squid Game before?
I'm sorry?
Have you seen Squid Game before?
Squid Game?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, if Lelouch did not have any powers and he was a character in Squid Game, do you think he would win?
Who would he be?
No, do you think he would win?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Lelouch?
Yeah.
Oh, he would totally win that. Oh, dude, Lelouch. He would, come on. Lelouch would win that whole thing.
I don't even know what the games are, but like, I win.
Yeah, exactly. I think I did voiceover for that.
For Squid Game?
I think so. Yes. Yeah. At least my name comes up. so for the dub, I'm not sure if you watched it in the dub. I was switching back and forth from the dub as I was watching it, just because I knew some people that were in the dub. It took me a while though to get into it. I will say that. I liked it. But it did take me a little longer than I think it was because there was so much hype built into it. From, oh, it's amazing, yeah, it's worth 900 million now, or whatever. Like, holy God, I got to check this out. And then it took me a while. Once I got into the characters, then I was hooked. Then I was like, okay, what's going to happen? Oh no. Has everyone seen it?
Yeah.
No, not everyone. Okay. You guys, you'll watch it. It's good. It's entertaining. Yes.
I have a two-part silly question.
Two-part silly question. Well, let me be the judge of that. Silliness.
Turbo,
Huh?
because there's been different racing movies and racing shows and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
If you reprise your role as Adam, the Turbo Ranger, could you beat Dominic Toretto in a racing contest?
From Fast and Furious, you mean? Well, all right, let's. Do you remember Turbo? Do you remember which vehicle I had? I had a green minivan. I'm not beating anybody in any race. I could probably get to the grocery store and fill it full of things. Maybe I can, get a few soccer kids to soccer practice. I could throw quarters at them. Yeah, I don't think I'd be racing anyone in that green minivan.
The second part of my question. Could you, in Broly's voice,
Probably not. You're gonna ask me to shout. I don't want to shout.
or at least say in Broly's voice, Kakarot is morphin' time?
How in the world? That's weird. Broly's the only voice where I actually have to warm up an hour before doing it. I don't know if I can do this. Let's see. It's weird. I don't even know what I'm doing. All right. It's Kakarot time! That's cheesy. That is silly. I give you that. That's silly. That's all you're getting. Are you filming this to put on your YouTube channel? Dang it! Can you just leave in the good stuff and cut out all the bad stuff? You're a liar. I know it. You're gonna leave it all in. Stumbles and everything. That's all right. Yes. I don't know, I just point that way. It's like throwing a ball. If you catch it, go for it.
What would your bronchi be?
What would my bonkai be?
Not as EQ, just your...
Oh. Oh, my. Johnny's bonkai? I don't know. That is something I've never thought of. What would your bonkai be?
I wasn't expecting to get that.
Oh, how do you like it? Well, I just do that the whole time. What's your question? Who's got a question? Go ahead. What's your question? How was your experience at Toradora? I had to do it. All right, I had to. All right, so Toradora was fun. Who's seen it? It was fun. I enjoyed it. I was kind of hoping to get more. It was just kind of silly, and I got to be a fun character. I just enjoyed it. It was good times. It was one of those ones where it was not super stressful. Like some anime could be kind of stressful. It's nice to have those that are like, you can just kind of live with these characters for a little bit. 10 minutes. I got 10 minutes, you guys. Oh, I see now the questions are coming. Yes?
When you review or watch the works that you've been in, do you feel like that there's room for improvement? Like, how do you react?
Always. Always. Anytime I watch anything I've ever done, I'm like, maybe I should have done that. Or I could have done that. Or why did they choose that one? Why didn't they use the other take? Whatever. Yeah, all the time. Yeah. But I think that's, and I expect that. You know, and I take that with me to the next thing, and I go, I'm gonna try it this way. You know, and see if that works. Yeah.
What is your favorite Zord from Power Rangers that you were a part of, and why is it the frog?
Well, it is the frog. Not because, well, the frog's not that cool. Or is it? The frog. I do like the frog. I don't know why. It's, you know, part of it has to do because I ad-libbed a line in the movie that became a thing. And for me, that was like my one contribution to that film. There were a lot of script changes. We shot with a whole different Dulcia. We did a whole training sequence in the movie. That was all cut out. There's a ton of stuff that we did that was cut out, a ton of stuff in the script that was taken out. And earlier on, there were a lot of things that the Black Ranger, my character, had. Weapons, abilities, things, tricks, and whatever action sequences throughout that film. But there was a revision that went through, and then like the next day when I showed up, like all of those things were given to another ranger. And I was like, oh, that's weird. So I don't get to do any of these things anymore. And then I remember one of the producers coming up, sorry, they have seniority, so we can't really do anything about it. But here's a little TV, and they gave me like a little handheld TV, and I was like, oh, thanks. So I was a little bit bummed. And so whenever we got to that scene where Dulcia's like, and you're the wolf, and you're the this, and you're the frog, you're fast and agile, and you're the falcon, the winged lord of the sky, I remember thinking that all of their animals are cooler than mine. What if I just played like I was very sad about getting this frog? Because all the sequences that we shot were cut out as well. And then I asked the director if I could be bummed out. And he said, well, let's do it like the script first, but then let's see what your idea is. And then so, yeah, we played with that idea where I'm upset about being the frog, and I say, I'm a frog. And then she's like, yeah, when you kiss to get a handsome prince, you know, and I get a kiss, which still doesn't explain my power. But then, like, I have to get kissed then? I don't know. And then it goes on, of course, to tell me Falcon and Lord of the Sky. So because of that, and that, they used that in the movie, and that was like an ad-lib. Like, that was just something that I thought to do, and they did it, and let me do that, and that became kind of a thing for me. And so a lot of the Power Ranger fans, you know, that watch the movie, they know that line, and maybe they're familiar with it. So that, I don't know, there's a connection I have then. You know, it's almost like with my band and my band music, like when we would tour and play, and we're up there playing, and people are singing back lyrics that I wrote. You know, that I'm like, I instantly connect with you because you know my lyrics, you know? So it's that same sort of thing, you know? It's the same thing that I have with any of the anime and stuff. It's like, well, you understand the anime, and I understand the anime. And it's like, we have that connection instantly. So it's because of that. And that's why I think the Frog Zord is my favorite. It's because there's a lot more to it, but yeah, that's why. Now, I tried to do that in the Turbo movie with the green minivan. I went to Shuki, who was a producer. I was like, hey, Shuki, remember the first movie when I was bummed out about being the frog and whatever? What if I complained to Zordon, like, the green minivan? Come on, you know, I had the frog and now the minivan. I don't even have a family. Like, I can complain or whatever. He's like, Johnny, you are not funny. Oh, let me get that out. Yes. I only have a couple more minutes left. Yes.
So, what's your like most memorable piece of advice
what's my most
memorable piece of advice, and could you do that in the voice of White Ichigo?
piece of advice?
Yes.
As Halarichigo, okay. All right. Don't stare directly into the sun. I don't know why I remember that, but every time anybody ever asks about that, like something that I remember, you know, piece of advice, I always think of stupid things like that. Which, you know, I've told my kids already. Don't stare at the sun. It's good advice, actually. You should follow it. Yes. Who has not asked a question? Let's go over here then. Yes. Either one. I threw it.
Hi, yes. Is it ever like immersion breaking to like watch something that like someone you know is in and just be like, oh, haha, that's that person, or like something you were in where it's like, oh, that's me. Like,
Is it what? What was the first thing you said?
is it ever like just like immersion breaking, or just kind of takes you out of it, just be like, oh, yeah, that's me. Hi.
Oh, does it take me out if I hear somebody else's voice or
Yeah,
something?
that you know.
Not usually, no. No, the only time that I get taken out of it, like in a dub, if that's what you mean specifically, is if the voice seems strange to me, you know? And I'm not saying that I'm perfect or whatever, but yeah, that can happen. You know, if you hear something and it's like, boy, that's odd. But usually, like, if it's live action stuff, like a live action dub, those are always going to be kind of weird, you know, if they're dubbed. You know, it's like an old kung fu movie. At least we try to, at least Netflix is like, no, we want to try to make it seem kind of like they're saying those words. But kung fu films, they didn't do that. But there's certainly been some times where I've watched something and I'm like, oh, I know who's in this, and I click over to the dub, and then I hear another voice that is like just hitting a frequency I can't listen to, and I'm like, I gotta change it. But that, you know, it's not that often. I do feel like there was a lot of that back in the old days. You know, when they sped through the dialogue, you know, and nothing matched the flaps. Now it's like everyone really tries to work hard to make that work out. Yeah.
With your short film, Auditioning, what came about it that you decided to make that film? And when I watched it, I saw where they mentioned like one side saying that they're not human, and one side saying that they're, I guess, superior. I guess, is it like two different worlds, or is like, is it like one, both sides being human, it's just one thinking things are superior?
It's basically a story about a parallel universe, right? So there's a world exactly like ours. We don't know when that split happened, but there's a world exactly like ours. But one world is dying. And so those people on that world are trying to escape and invade into our world. The issue is that they look exactly like us, and some of them are taking the place of the people that they look like and living in it. So that's this, and it's like there's an agency, I guess, if you will, that is trying to track down those people, you know, which my character is a part of. And I won't ruin any of the twists or anything, but then, you know, through that find out more things. So that's the gist of it, you know. Their world is dying and they're trying to invade into ours. So that there's one side that is like, they're evil, they're bad, they're, you know, whatever. I guess there's some parallel to, like, you know, I guess migrants coming over. You can kind of see that a little bit if you really want to, but it's a sci-fi, you know. It was something that was written in less than a week because of the original film. We couldn't do any longer because we didn't have the budget for it. So it was like, well, I either just scrap it and lose whatever money I put into this, or I just try to do something. So it was really strange, you know, because I was also shooting in Texas, which I didn't, you know, wasn't where I wanted to shoot, but that's where, you know, they wanted to do originally, but then they bailed, and then so now I'm stuck in Texas, and then I had to go there and find out where my money was, and who had my money, and how I was going to be able to keep using those people, and if I can convince those people to keep working on a completely different project. I had to call up all of my actors and say, hey, so I still want to do something, but it's not the same thing. And they're like, well, what is it? And I was like, I'm writing it right now, you know. So it was very complicated to do. So I would love for you to check it out, to see, just knowing that I think might be interesting to see like, if you were there and you knew the whole situation, which I'm not even giving you the whole thing, you probably would, that's impossible. And so for me, it was a weird thing, because it's kind of a success for us to be able to accomplish this, because it was doomed to fail. But once I'd finished it, I even, during COVID, when I had no job, there's no voiceover coming in, and my visual effects guy couldn't do it because of COVID, and he had to move and whatnot, and so I did all the visual effects. So all the special effects and stuff, I did that. You know, I taught myself how to do it during COVID. It took like whatever 3 months to learn how to do it. And then once we finished, we submitted to a bunch of film festivals, and we started winning festivals. And I was like, well, I don't know, maybe we have something here. Even though it was like thrown together literally, maybe there's something here. And so I wanted to, that's when I was like, you know what, maybe I will just give this to everyone. Maybe this is the thing I give everyone as my thank you, you know, for supporting me in my career for so many years. Here's a free little piece of entertainment. Like it or not, that's fine. But hopefully you like it, and then maybe we can circle back and then do more. Because some of you, there have been a couple of you that have seen it, and you're like, well, is there going to be more? And it's like, if people want more, but not enough people have watched it. And it's hard for me to get people interested in it unless, now if I did Power Rangers, like, Adam came back, and this is a Power Ranger, yeah, and there's going to be a ton of people who are going to tune in, right? But something that's new, it's a little harder to convince people to watch. So if you have time, it's a 40-minute short, you know, please check it out, or come take a flyer. But I want to say thank you all for taking the time out of your day to just sit with me and chat. I hope that you had a good time. I appreciate all of you. I just want to say, whatever your walk is in life, wherever you're at, I hope that you're well, and I hope that you continue to do well. And if you're not, I hope that it gets better for you. And I just thank you. You guys have been there for me, and I hope in some way I could be there for you, even if it's through various entertainment stuff. Thank you guys so much for being here. Appreciate it.